Hello guys, this video is about New Wave 15 tongue drum. Let's see how it's designed, what notes it has, how to play it. I'll tell you the basic theory of music, a little bit about chords, show you some exercises. My name is Alexei, Kosmosky team. Let's start, and first of all let's try to make the sound. For example, we'll make it with our fingers, and to do this we need to make light flicks on the instrument, as if it's hot. There should be no tension in the finger. If the finger is tense, there is no sound. We need to make light touches, shaking the finger. It's like we have a drop of water on the finger, and we shake it off, and we need to snatch the finger back. At first it's easier to get the sound out of the big tongues. They're more responsive. So these are the number 1, 2, 3 tongues. They'll be more pliable. We try to hit the semicircular tip, because that's where the amplitude of oscillation is, and we can try different movements, such as sliding on the instrument gently, as if it's hot, snatch it back, so we can try to go the other way around, not by hitting it, but by drawing back quickly. And then try touching it and then drawing back again. We can try different techniques when we just put our hand on the instrument and our task is to make this kind of movement, to hit it. There are other techniques for playing with fingers. You can hit it with the pad, like we just tried. You can also hit it with the knuckle of the thumb. It's a little bit sideways movement. It can also be this soft sliding across the instrument. So the pedal oscillates like this. Our task is to catch it and instantly remove the finger to create this oscillation. When we boost the finger technique, we can play by combining these movements and actually play 3 notes at once. 2 notes with the thumb and the index finger, and the third note with the finger of the other hand. Before you start playing with your fingers, it's best to stretch your hands, warm up your fingers, stretch them out, and when we play, it's good to shake your hands to relax them. In fact, there is nothing difficult in playing with fingers. The main thing is to understand correctly how we release this tension. It's a small paradox when we have to make some movement. At the same time, our brain wants to tense up and we want to relax. And our task is to catch that state where we can sit down and slap the instrument for 5 minutes. Maybe even with the palms of our hands. Maybe we need to get tired of pressing, and this tension in the finger will go away when we relax. Sit with the instrument for 15 or 20 minutes and the sound will get better. Let's also learn to make sound with sticks. To play with sticks, it is convenient to take them about 1/3 of the length from the bass, and we just hit the stick and it bounces back itself. We drop it, it bounces. You can clench the stick in your hand so that the sound doesn't come out either. That's because there's tension between your hand and the stick. Try to make the sound with the sticks and notice how it vibrates, and then try to transfer the same movement to your fingers. For your convenience, we put stickers on the New Wave tongue drum, on which there is an indication of notes and numbers. Let's try to play all the numbers from 1 to 15, starting with the left hand and alternating between the left and the right hand. At first you can play with the sticks. We play alternately with the left and the right hand, starting with the left in the first tongue, then the right, then the left, then the right. Play all the notes from the 1st to the 15th. And back again. And the left hand starts and the left hand ends on the smallest tongue. And when we go back the same way, we start with the left hand and we finish with the left. The scale exercise is the basic on the tongue drum. It's important to learn to play it both slowly and quickly. The easiest way to do it is with a metronome. Now I'm going to turn it on. For example, at a tempo of 8, 10 or 90. This is the tempo with which you should initially start. The metronome app can be downloaded to any smartphone. They come in different versions. Choose the one you like visually. Tempo 80, and we'll listen to the metronome. And for each beat of the metronome, hit a pedal. And then we can build up the tempo to 140, but gradually. Or even 180. Scale is an exercise that underlies all music. We learn to play all the notes from the lowest to the highest note, and in doing so, our fingers memorize those tracks. And that's what the melody is based on. In 90% of the music we listen to, the melodies are based on this progression. Up or down. So for example, that kind of melody, right? So the melody goes up and down. It's all done within the scale. Our fingers get used to it, and later, when we learn some melodies or compose our own, it gets easier and easier. I'll also show you some exercises where you can combine left and right hands, alternate them, play the scale with only the left hand or the right hand. Another variation of the exercise is where we play it with only the right hand. Or just the left hand. You can also learn to play the scale alternately jumping over one note. Another interesting exercise. So we're starting with the left hand. We'll count 1, 2, 3. We'll keep hitting 2 beats on the center pedal, and then we'll go through all the notes in turn. 1, 2. Start with the left hand, left, right, left, then right, left, right. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Scale is one of the most important exercises, so learn to play it in different ways. Learn to play it with the sticks, with your hands, at different tempos, with or without a metronome. Now let's look at the basic concept of music, called intervals. Intervals are the distance between notes, and there are many different intervals in music. We'll look at the most common. For example, these are third, fifth, and octave. On our tongue drum, the thirds are very conveniently located. They are 2 neighboring pedals. Or, if you look at the numbers, they correspond to pedals that go through one another. For example, the first and the third petals form a third interval. The second and fourth petals also form a third interval. Third and fifth, fourth and sixth, fifth and seventh. These are the neighboring petals, in fact. Sixth and eighth. And we can learn other intervals that are also on the tongue drum, and they're also conveniently located. For example, these are fifths. The fifths on the tongue drum will be located on the petals one apart from each other. For example, the second and the sixth, third and seventh, fourth and eighth, fifth, ninth. And that's the playing with hitting the fifths, yeah. With the addition of the high notes. And for example, there is an interval called octave. It's two identical notes. You can find them on the tongue drum by the letters on them. For example, we have G1 and G8, and then we have G15. They're all the same note in different octaves. If we play G1 and G8 at the same time, it's as if they merge into one sound. So it's the same note, but one note has oscillation frequency twice as much as the previous one, and the third one, for example, twice as much as the second one. And you can play all the other notes and you can hear that. They're also creating, just reinforcing each other's sound. And for comparison, for example, I'm going to play E6 and E13. That's our octave interval where the notes merge. And sometimes you can even play it in such a way that it's hard to distinguish. It's like one single sound. But if, for example, I played E6 and instead of E13 I played the note F14, it would create some mood and we would hear these two different sounds, one lower and one higher. And they're more distinct from each other, and that works basically with any other note. So when an octave is played, it's a unison. When some other note is mixed in, it creates a mood. Knowing how these notes are arranged allows us to understand how we build chords and so on. And playing chords is the basis for learning some melodies, learning compositions, learning songs, or even our improvisation. A chord is a consonance consisting of 3 or more sounds, and on the tongue drum these chords are also built side by side. That is, they are based on these thirds, which are 2 tongues standing next to each other, and then there is a third tongue, which also stands next to them. For example, we see some note, for example C4, and if we go up from it, there, 4, 6, 8, it will be a chord where the leading note would be this 4. If we take a 6 and we go up 2 notes from that, it's a chord that has this E6 as the main note. And you can even compare the sound from these 2 chords. It's a chord from the note C, C major. It's got that light major sound, and then we'll take this chord here. It's called E minor, and it's built from the note E. You can learn more detailed names of chords in our booklet. They are written there in Latin letters. It's all quite easy to understand, and you just need to spend some time to memorize it. It's important to get used to the arrangement of these chords, memorize them, and try to make some combinations of them. We can just alternate, for example, two chords. And we can apply different techniques to that. Now I was playing overdubbing, and now I can shorten those same chords, but also playing them in a sort of beating. It's like a composition of two chords, and in general they could be, for example, 3 or 4. They could alternate in different ways. It's important for us to learn to understand the location of these chords, where they are, to get used to them, and then we can learn compositions based on this and improvise. And it's also important to notice that on the tongue drum there are notes that are repeated. These are the notes that form the octave interval, and they thus create the sound of the same chords. So, for example, there's the note 4, 6, 8. That's C, E, G. And then there's notes 11, 13, 15, which are labeled the same way, C, E, G. So it's the same chord, but here it's low and here it's high. So you can play low notes with your right hand and add high notes with your left hand. And the same thing can be done with the rest of the chords, and if you pay attention, you'll notice that they all have a diagonal arrangement. That is, when we play the lower main chord, for example, in the left hand, we'll have the higher note in the right hand if we have lower notes of the right hand. At the bottom, the higher notes will be in the left hand. And we'll do some simple chord exercises. For example, let's take 4 chords. The first one. 6, 8, 10. The second 5, 7, 9. The third 4, 6, 8. The fourth 3, 5, 7. And then we loop them, each one twice. And then a new cycle. Now we realize that we have one chord, second, third, fourth, and we can play them rhythmically in different ways. So we had a pattern of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we can play it. Or even easier. Or we can play those same chords with a different technique, like a beat. 2 sticks hitting the tongues at the same time, and then we'd hit the body with the stick, and then we'd do this count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And we can play those parts in different ways, alternating them. The 4 chords of one part make one cycle. So I've played 2 cycles now, I'm playing a 3rd cycle in the same way. For example, I can play 4 cycles of these 4 chords and then change to a different sound. So I've played 1 cycle in that sound, and then I'd play another one, for example. The second one, played the second one, and then I'd play like 2 more of those. And then the last 4th one. After this 4th one, I can change the pattern again, for example, and go to the original pattern, you know, like it's a chorus and a verse. Or I can change the pattern here to a more complex. And you can learn to add high notes that correspond to the bass chords. So we have a chord that has a bass note of E, and we take the high note E and add it. The chord that has the bass note D, we take the high note D and add it. Yes, they are diagonally arranged. A chord that has a C bass note, and we add the same high note, and this is our 4th chord. And it's got a high note. Then look. If we have mastered playing chords on the tongue drum, we can learn songs with the tongue drum, the same way we learn songs with the guitar. We find the chords of the song, transpose it to our key G major E minor and learn it by chords. For example, let's take the song Sadness by the band Kino as a basis. And there are 4 chords in the verse. The first chord is E minor. The second chord is D major. The third chord is C major. And the 4th chord is B minor. song by Chords, accompany ourselves, and sing. One hand can play the accompaniment part, and the other hand can even add some solo notes on top. Guys, if you want a more detailed video on how to transpose chords into your key, how to choose chords for singing, then write us a comment and we will make a separate video. Let's also learn how the composition is designed. A composition consists of several important components. It has a rhythm, which is the foundation. It has an accompaniment, which can consist of chords, and it can have a melody, which is built on the principles of gradual increase or decrease of sounds. It is important to understand that music, even the most complex, is built from the simplest small pieces. We can learn to weave small patterns and alternate them with each other. For example, we will take a piece of the 8, 9, 10 scale and learn to play it in a loop. And we take another piece, for example, notes 9, 10, and 11. And we alternate these two pieces. In this way we can find different pieces, weave simple melodies from them and alternate them. Now we play not the whole scale from 1 to 15, but we take some part of it, for example 8, 9, 10, and loop those notes. We get this pattern, then we take some other section like 5, 6, 7, 8 and loop it. And alternate those pieces. Or, for example, we can look for some other pieces of 3 or 4 notes. You can also apply the technique when we look at the tongue drum as if it consists of 2 parts, and we play the same rhythmic pattern, the same pattern on the right side, and then we transfer it to the left side. When we play music, it's important not only to fill it with the sound of notes, but also with pauses. We can play several notes, make pauses between them, and our music will become more beautiful. Guys, playing music is easier than it seems. Practice, try to hear the music inside you, feel your inner pulse, feel your inner rhythm, ask your questions in the comments, we will try to answer them. You can find more detailed lessons and exercises on playing the tongue drum in our course, which we are now preparing for release. Practice, and you will definitely succeed. Alexei from Kosmosky was here with you. All the best.